Tracy's let out on bail and has David to thank for it. But has she met her match in just how evil he can be? Don't miss Monday night's 2 episodes of Coronation Street, as ever at 7:30 and 8:30 here on ITV1.
To come, the Home Secretary says that the problems at his department won't be getting better in the near future.
Hooray for Bollywood. Shilpa Shetty wins Celebrity Big Brother by a massive margin and calls on the British public to forgive those accused of bullying her.
Terminal disaster. The tents are out again ahead of tomorrow's strike by British Airways staff, and misery for hundreds of thousands of travellers. That's all to come on Monday, January the 29th, 2007.
Hello, good morning. You're watching the News Hour. It's just gone 6 o'clock. We'll have more on those stories in the next hour.
Plus, you're nicked to News Hour exclusive on the trail of the DVD pirates at a boot sale near you.
And looking into some astonishing statistics that show liposuction operations have doubled in the last year.
But first, Claire has been casting a few dry spells in my absence.
Certainly have, and this week's looking very quiet indeed, particularly for England and Wales. Further north, you could see some strong winds from time to time, and a little bit of patchy rain, as we can see this morning across the northwestern areas of Scotland, heading down, perhaps just clipping Northern Ireland. Elsewhere, it's really a case of a lot of clouds and a hint of brightness coming through. I think the best of any brightness will always be in the east, and it's going to be rather breezy today, particularly across the North Sea coast there, and temperatures, well, turning mild. Penny.
Claire, thank you very much. Our top story this morning, and the under-fire Home Secretary John Reid has admitted that more Home Office blunders will come to light, but he's not going to resign. Well, Gloria Pierre is at the Home Office. Gloria.
Well, his strategy seems to be to prepare us all for the absolute worst, as he writes in an article today that this place, the problems in this place, they're so deep-rooted, so serious, that he expects them to keep coming for a little while longer. Now, last week we saw fiascos involving overcrowding in prisons. We learned that 300 sex offenders were not being monitored as they ought, but instead had gone missing from the system. Well, Penny, when I spoke to John Reid's aides last night, they told me that the nature of his character meant that these events just made him all the more determined to get to the bottom of this problem. The Home Office is like a many-headed beast. It almost seems as if you slay one head, another one is just waiting to come and attack you. It reminds me of the famous Harold Macmillan quote when he became Prime Minister, and a journalist said, "What do you fear most about the job?" "Events, dear boy, events," was his famous reply. And what we're learning now is that this place is one heck of an eventful building.
Yes, Gloria, thank you very much. And John Reid is going to be here in just over an hour's time.
Let's catch up on the rest of the news. Here's Aruj.
Thanks, John. Good morning. Celebrity Big Brother winner Shilpa Shetty has appealed to the public to forgive the housemates accused of racially bullying her. Sarah Gatenby reports.
Shilpa might not have expected it, but the actress became the nation's favourite after the biggest controversy to hit Big Brother. After leaving the house, the Bollywood star said Jade Goody's infamous comments were not racist.
Jade is not a bad person, and she really didn't contrive to behave like that. She's just young, and people are fallible. Jade didn't intentionally mean to be racist.
The press conference was then interrupted by Danielle Lloyd apologising for her comments.
They were never, ever meant in a racist way whatsoever, and I'm not a racist.
Shilpa's dignified behaviour won her 63% of the public vote and an army of fans.
What Shilpa showed was that she's mature. She doesn't think to their level.
Justice has been done. She's a true Indian princess.
A princess, and now queen of reality TV.
Sarah Gatenby reporting. The two sides in the British Airways dispute meet again today in a last-ditch effort to reach a peace deal before more than 1,000 cabin crew walk out tomorrow. Richard Gaisford's at Heathrow Airport, where preparations are already underway for the expected chaos. Richard, good morning.
Good morning, Aruj. Well, the sign behind me promises 11 flights a day to New York with British Airways. That won't be happening tomorrow or Wednesday. No flights from Heathrow, no flights from Gatwick, and all of those passengers, more than 100,000, have been told to stay away and not come to the airport. And they are, though, expecting just a few to do just that. Take a look behind me here. You can see the tents are already in place for some of these displaced customers who they think might well come to the airport in the hope of getting on a flight. That chance of anything happening, though, with British Airways is slim because they've been talking all weekend and have still yet to come to any sort of agreement. Towards the end of last week, talks looked like they'd broken down completely, but then Tony Woodley of the TNG Union and Willie Walsh of British Airways spent some time together at the end of last week and then brought both sides together across the weekend. They've been meeting in secret. We're told some progress has been made on these issues of pay and sickness, and yet they still haven't got an agreement. So more than 1,000 flights will be cancelled. Say all of those passengers told to go elsewhere and find other airlines. And it's got to the point really at this point when even if they do start getting something together, the two sides, a lot of people still won't be able to get on those flights, Arush.
Richard, thank you. Young Muslims are more likely to support radical Islam than their parents, according to a new poll. The survey, commissioned by a right-wing think tank, found that young Muslims were increasingly likely to prefer Sharia law to British law and to want to send their children to Islamic schools. Dramatic pictures showing the moment TV presenter Richard Hammond almost died have been shown for the first time. The vampire jet car he was driving is seen travelling at more than 230 miles an hour. The slow-motion footage shows how the car flips when a tyre bursts. Amazing pictures. Camilla, the Duchess of Cornwall, has been wowing American high society by wearing a $1 million necklace. The diamond-encrusted necklace is believed to be a new addition to the Duchess's collection. It isn't known where it came from, but may have been a gift from a wealthy friend of the royal couple. Now, here are the top stories on the web this morning. Would you ever consider liposuction? According to a new poll, 70% of you would. Are you eating too much salt? Find out which products have too much in them. And how Borat has made Sacha Baron Cohen one of this country's most influential men. Find out more at gm.tv, online and now on your mobile. The time is now 6:07. I'm back at 6:30. Now it's over to Penny and John.
Thanks, Arush. Let's take a look at the morning papers. Most of them are a reflection of our news bulletin there. In The Guardian, the story about John Reid, worse is yet to come, which is what we told you a moment ago. The Daily Telegraph concentrating on that poll of young Muslims, saying that 40% of them would like to live under Sharia law. The Independent goes its own way as ever. Global warming, the vicious circle is their front page story there. While the Times has an interesting story, saying the government's preparing to make a sensational U-turn on its 24-hour drinking policy, going to make it harder for pubs to stay open all that time on the basis that they think they've gone too far too quickly.
Oh, that's one for the books. The Daily Mail has that story on the front page about the multiculturalism driving young Muslims to shun British values. The Daily Mirror, 2,500 more prison places. John Reid's pledge to ease overcrowded jails crisis. That picture of Shilpa Shetty beating the BB bigots, it says there. The Sun has Shilpa on the front page again, and the real big brother under there saying that state X-ray spies can see you nude. Secret cameras could be installed in street lamps.
Outside the television programme we're talking about now.
Exactly. And finally, the first interview only in the Star with Shilpa Shetty, saying Jade is to blame, but only saying that after Jade went in, that the atmosphere changed.
Well, of course, FA Cup yesterday, but to the back pages this morning, talking about, well, story very close to home for me. Anyway, Stuart Pearce's England bust-up. This is the revelation that Stuart Pearce has accepted the England under-21 job, but the Manchester City board are not too happy about him doing it just yet, to put it that way. Oliver Holt from the Mirror joins me right now. A bit of a tangle, isn't it?
Yes, it is a bit of a mess, not an unfamiliar kind of mess really over these things, but I think an unavoidable one, because I'm a big admirer of Stuart Pearce, that's the first thing to say, but I think trying to double up on this England under-21 job with a Man City job is crazy, to be honest, and as you know, City aren't safe yet in the Premiership. you know, run of bad results, and they'd be right in amongst it, down at the bottom.
They blame this for the, problem. Yesterday was all right, though. 3-1 winners over Southampton in the F. That was Beasley rounding it off there. We never lose when Darius himself scores, you know that, do you?
I didn't know that.
Just happened, he didn't score that often, that's the only problem. On now to the Arsenal. No, Chelsea, first of all, because Mourinho, of course, what on earth is going on there? I mean, he's saying, you know, I'll be a hard act to follow, implying he's going. On the other hand, he's saying he's going to be here till the end of his contract.
Yeah.
There are people saying there's a shortlist drawn up already for those to replace him. What's going on?
I don't know. I'm tempted to say don't ask me, but obviously it wouldn't much point me being here. But it is very confusing. I mean, I think the key to it is his character, and I think he's quite an immature guy in some ways, and I think he wants people to beg him to stay, really, and he would be a hard act to follow. You know, he's won their first 2 titles for 50 years. He's done great things there. He says he hopes he'll be there till the end of his contract in 2010. I think the best guess is that he'll be gone at the end of the season.
Yeah, well, the weekend was a breeze for him, wasn't it? Against Nottingham Forest, you were there.
A very, very poor imitation.
Literally not in the same league. Finally, Arsenal, lousy first half. I watched this game apart from one magic moment from Henry. Second half, they must have been very frustrated because their bogey team, Bolton, defended stoically and kept them at bay.
Yeah, I watched a bit of this in the press room at Chelsea, but
draw for 5th round, 1:30 today. Look forward to that, or at least some of us do. Oliver, good to see you.
Thanks, John.
John Reid says the problems at the Home Office are going to get worse before they get better, but he says being Home Secretary is my biggest challenge, but it isn't a mission impossible. Gloria Piero looks back at a turbulent 7 days for the Home Secretary.
Once regarded as one of the safest pair of hands in government, John Reid is now described as the beleaguered Home Secretary. Last Sunday, he seized the initiative, said he wanted to split his unwieldy department in 2, but it emerged that he hadn't got the agreement of his cabinet colleagues yet. On Wednesday, he provoked an outcry after writing to judges asking that they only jail the most serious offenders, as prisons were full to bursting. Judges took him at his word and didn't jail a convicted paedophile, a child pornographer, and a drug dealer. And then yesterday it was reported that police forces had lost track of 322 convicted sex offenders. Well, Mr. Reid's aides tell me that the events of the last 7 days have made him all the more determined to sort his troubled department out.
Well, joining us now is the Telegraph's Andrew Pearce. Good morning.
Morning.
I mean, it's not really his fault, is it?
He's
all of
the
this?
boss. Who else is
Well, he
it?
hasn't been there for a long time.
9 months.
Though, has it? 9 months. Yes, but this is all from other times, isn't it?
Didn't he say when he arrived, define it in the 90 days, judge me on what I achieve in 90 days or 3 months? Well, he's had 90 times 3. He's not made a good fist of it. It's been a disaster. I think really the person we should blame, though, is the Prime Minister. You would expect me to say that, wouldn't you? No, because he's been in charge of the government for 10 years, and in that 10 years, the Home Office has consistently failed to deliver on just about any target. It's a basket case, and there is now a complete lack of leadership within the Home Office.
It has got bigger, though, with the terrorism coming on.
No, it's because all the legislation they are pouring out on a monthly basis. Bills after bills after bills, half of which aren't drafted properly. It's spewing out stuff all the time. It is like Gloria Piero said earlier, it's like a many-headed hydra. And every time they chop off one head, there's another one. They should stop legislating and just do what they do better.
How about cleaving the head in 2, which is one of the suggestions?
Well, cleave it in about 10 and then kick them all off. But Reid is an effective politician, and he has really come horribly unstuck. He's not in any trouble because the Prime Minister simply can't afford to lose another Home Secretary because he had to sack the last one for incompetence.
And also, he himself, I mean, John Reid is a political survivor. He's the Gloria Gaynor, isn't he, of the Labour Party?
Yeah, I can't quite see him with the hair and the lips and the... but yeah, he will survive this, but I think this has damaged him personally. Remember, he was seen as the only person who could possibly put up a challenge to Gordon Brown, and Gordon Brown has been conspicuously silent during all of these disasters that have befallen the Home Office and the Prime Minister in the last week, and this has damaged him personally.
Now, he said in the newspapers today, he said that this is going to get worse before it gets better. And he talks about the fact that it's a bit like renovating an old house. You strip off the wallpaper and half the wall comes down.
Yeah, you would understand that sentiment if they hadn't been in power since 1997. They have had quite a long time to get tough on crime, tough on the causes of crime. Do you remember that terrible old cliched expression the Prime Minister came out with, but to such great effect in the run-up to the election? And they failed in that miserably. So it's a bit late to start renovating the house just about when you hand the keys over to some new occupants, because that's what's going to happen if they don't get this sorted out quite soon.
Andrew, thank you. Do text in your thoughts about the Home Office and about John Reid, because we're going to be putting your questions to him live at 7:10. Thanks.
OK, time now 15 minutes past 6. You're watching the News Hour here on GMTV. These are the headlines you're waking up to today. Celebrity Big Brother winner Shilpa Shetty has appealed to the British public to forgive Jade Goody and the other housemates who are accused of racist bullying.
Preparations are underway at Heathrow Airport for the chaos expected to be caused by a strike starting tomorrow unless last-ditch talks are successful.
And Camilla and her $1 million necklace cause quite a stir in New York. Now then, is it a sign of the times or a worrying trend that needs investigating? New figures show liposuction operations have nearly doubled in the last year. 4,000 people had the procedure done in 2006. Things can and do go wrong. Denise Hendry, wife of the former Scotland captain Colin Hendry, ended up in a coma when she had liposuction on her stomach. She talked to GMTV in 2004.
I think it's the strain it's put on everybody, and not knowing the risks initially. If I could turn the clock back, I definitely would, yeah. But I think lessons have to be learned.
Well, joining me now is a lady called Gail Vigad, who had 4 procedures, 4 liposuction procedures, and Dr. Hilary Jones. Good to see you. Gail, let me start with you. 4? Why 4?
The first one, I think I rushed into it without doing any research. Left it a year, and the second one I had done was really to correct it. And
so things went badly wrong the first time?
It did, yes.
What sort of problems did you endure?
I think it's because they put me under a general anaesthetic, and he ripped all the nerves in my back, and it was lopsided one side. So obviously he took more away from one side of my back than the other.
So even having endured that, you still went ahead with 2 more operations?
I did. I started researching it then and realised that it shouldn't hurt, and I was on a strict diet, and as I lost weight I was getting some really bad stubborn areas that I just couldn't get rid of with no matter how much exercise that I actually did. So it made it look worse, so I decided to have it done, and it was absolutely superb, the results.
We've got some before and after pictures. Let's have a look at those to give us an indication of the impact it had on you. There you are. Yeah, revolting is your word. It wouldn't be mine, but that's, you were not happy with that thing.
Not at all.
And later on, you emerged looking like this, which is significantly different. Nevertheless, you would, you know, it cost you a lot of money.
It did, yes.
How much?
In total, how much have I spent? I would say between 15 and 18,000.
Which is a heck of a lot of it.
It's a lot of money, but I was spending an awful lot of money buying clothes to try and make myself look good. So, in a way, in the long term, over 5 years, I'll probably save now.
As well as physically, I mean, you've kept the weight off, right?
Yeah, my diet's still continuing. I'm still exercising.
Psychologically, how do you feel?
Fantastic. A lot more confident.
Okay. Hilary, why are so many people doing this, particularly given the potential hazards that we've just heard about?
Well, they are, because the figures for liposuction have gone up by 90% since 2005. It's a huge increase, much more popular than it's ever been before. It's not the 8th most common cosmetic procedure anymore, it's the 3rd. So it is popular, and for removing those very stubborn areas of fat, it is quite successful, I have to say, and it does improve people's self-esteem. But there is a downside. If you're not in the hands of an experienced surgeon, it can seriously go wrong. We saw the example there of Denise Hendry, whose actual abdomen was perforated, I believe, and her gut was perforated several times. I think the other thing that can go wrong is bleeding. You can get quite large quantities of blood loss if too much fat is attempted to be removed. You can get damage to nerves. You can get a dippling effect, so it's not the same on both sides, and a rippling, which doesn't look very attractive. So there is a lot to be said for counselling prior to the operation.
You see, we've said all this many times on this program and other programmes too, and people have read this. Intelligent people like Gail have read all this. They know that any doctor can perform this operation. You don't have to be specially trained or qualified, and yet we still, in increasing numbers, go ahead. What interests me is what's happened in society, what's happened to us as a race that's made us say, go for it.
We're becoming more body image conscious, aren't we? We are becoming more vain. But also, I think, you know, that may be unfair to some people because Gail has said that this has improved her self-esteem and confidence considerably. Now, when your weight is not far off what it should be, liposuction is actually quite successful. It's no good for weight management generally, it's no good for obesity, but when you're near your ideal weight and you've just got stubborn areas, liposuction actually works very well. And for people who've got a psychological problem with that love handle or that saddlebag thigh or whatever it is, that one operation can really change that, give them the motivation to carry on keeping their weight down and actually be quite successful.
And if you've got the money and it makes you feel happy, well, why not? And it's fair to say, I think the industry has actually cleaned up its act to a large extent, although there are obviously still some problems. Well, there's a risk with any operation. Absolutely. Anyway, fair enough to point out. Okay, good to see you.
And you,
congratulations,
thank you.
Well done, thanks
Thank
very much, Steve. If you're considering plastic surgery or have had a bad experience and need some advice, you can find it on our website, that's gm.tv, and now on your mobile, just text the word mobile to 81189 and follow the instructions.
Time is 6:21. Still to come, a full weather update from Claire.
And the former Celebrity Big Brother contestant John McKirrick will be here to talk about Shilpa Shetty's victory last night.
Time is 6:23 now. Shilpa Shetty says that the British public should forgive the housemates who bullied her and were at the centre of a race rout during Celebrity Big Brother. The Bollywood star won by 63% of the public vote last night.
The winner of Celebrity Big Brother 2007 is Shilpa.
I'm someone who likes to look forward in life, and I want to put it behind me. It wasn't a very pleasant episode, but not in Jade's defense, and I'm not trying to be politically correct here, but I'd just like to say that it may have seemed like it was bad, but I can say that Jade is not a bad person, and she really didn't contrive to behave like that. I think Britain has given me so much love, and it's bestowed such a huge honor upon me. I would be really ungrateful to, to say that they haven't supported me, or they've been, they haven't been kind or just towards me. So I'd just like to take this opportunity to also thank the people here in Britain for knowing what's right. I don't want someone suffering for something that we've done on TV. It's really small. I mean, lives are bigger than that.
Joined now by former housemate John McCrick. Good morning to you. What a very gracious winner.
Fantastic she was. Remember, this is the 12th Big Brother. There have been 144 housemates. Never before has a non-white gone and won. And it's exactly the same for the Jungle, Get Me Out of Here, Love Island, or with a public vote. Non-whites don't win. Now, I hope Britain has learnt so much. This has been a fantastic cleansing experience of insidious, hidden racism. It isn't in your face, BNP, go back to where you belong. We understand that it's disgusting, we all know it, we don't bother with that. This here is people acting in their millions and our citizenry, going around and behaving towards other Britons in a way that we would not tolerate ourselves as white people. And it's brought it out that it can now be talked about and understood that their culture, other people's culture, all should be respected as good as everybody else's. And that was the feeling in the house, that somehow they were superior, and that's what came out.
Everybody says that great things expected now, Shilpa Shetty. What about the girls, though?
Well, we're going to have a huge PR campaign. You saw Danielle at the press conference rushing up to Shilpa. Shilpa's such a lady. What a gorgeous, graceful lady she is. That she sort of purrs her way through. She smoulders with sexual allure, doesn't she? And yet she knows where the line is drawn. She won't be drawn into the horrible arguments and everything else. She's kind to Jade, kind to Danielle. Danielle goes in there as part of a PR campaign. That's what's being done now, is to try and rehabilitate the goodies, Joe and Danielle.
And of course, in the immediate aftermath of Shilpa being crowned winner of Big Brother, there were cries of fix because of the fact that Channel 4 otherwise under fire, as it has been anyway.
No fix at all. The public voted. and they were disgusted with what they'd seen. Admittedly, she had huge reservoirs of water. I said that before she went in. The Asian community really were getting behind her. I was on Asian radio talking about it, and they were flooding with calls of support. It's the same as if we were abroad, and we got involved in a Big Brother abroad, and there was a Briton there. We'd manned the phones trying to get the Brit to win. So that's what she had going for. But her dignity, the way she conducted herself, she didn't make a mistake. It's somebody who was under that pressure in the house and yet carry herself off so well.
I thought it was interesting, actually. You look at the papers today, and I think there it shows it quite clearly. Look, you've got Shilpa as first, and then you've got Jermaine,
the runner-up.
American,
yes, and non-white as well,
and third, Dirk, American. What's wrong with the press?
Well, also remember, actually, Penny, they should have you in because they like nice people, decent. No, you are. You're a sweetie. So, decent people win in the end. So nasty, horrible, vindictive, mendacious, bitchy people like me never win. We're the one that make the news and all that thing, but don't win. The public in the end, they go for nice people. Mylene Klass went to one, Tony Blackburn, Phil Tufnell, Carol Thatcher, Bez won, Chantel, nice, decent people. That's what the Britons go for. And this time they've broken through that barrier, that ceiling, that coloured people can win. And be second as well. Jermaine, who did nothing in the house, Jermaine, but he's a sweetie, nice chap. You'd love to get behind the mask and know all the stories that he's got. But he was tremendous, and that's why the public made him second.
John, thank you very much.
Penny Smith in the Big Brother house.
Oh,
Can you imagine?
I'll be in there with her.
Fun of controller in this one, mate, I'll tell you. Let's catch up on the weather. Here's Claire.
GMTV weather, sponsored by Nestle Cereals. Whole grain for the whole family every morning.
Hello, good morning. Today is a fairly quiet start to the day. You can see here not a lot of movement on the satellite picture. In fact, that's how it's going to stay, particularly across England and Wales over the next few days, although the wind is likely to pick up across Scotland. And in fact, we are expecting gales of Tuesday into Wednesday and also some heavy rain just for a time. But this morning it's a fairly quiet start to the day. You can see some dampness across western coasts of Scotland there, just clipping a Northern Ireland. And elsewhere it's a case of a cloud coming and going and a hint of a brightness, and it is a relatively mild start. So through the afternoon then we'll continue to see the odd spot or two of rain in the west, but look at these temperatures, 9 or 10 degrees Celsius, 10 is 50 degrees Fahrenheit. The eastern side of Scotland always seeing more in the way of cloud, and that cloud sort of just breaking up perhaps over the Highlands for a time, but generally there'll be always more cloud in the west. Similar situation for Northern Ireland, a mostly dry but cloudy afternoon. Southwest Scotland, similar situation. Southeast Scotland, northeast England, that's where you should see some blue sky during this afternoon. There will be a mass of cloud covering much of England and Wales, but again there'll be some favoured spots, the southeast through the morning and perhaps the Midlands through the afternoon as the cloud gradually sinks its way southwards. But for East Anglia, always expect more cloud. It's going to be a fairly dull day, but perhaps a hint of brightness coming in. Places such as central southern England later on down towards the West Country. The Scilly Isles perhaps seeing the odd spot or two of rain, and more cloud likely for the Channel Islands. Cloud is going to be the key word as we head through the next few days. In fact, tonight we're expecting some thick fog patches anywhere from the Wash down towards Hampshire southeastwards, only slowly clearing through tomorrow morning. It's going to be windy in the north, and that's when we're likely to see some rain come in as we head through the next few days across Scotland and clipping a Northern Ireland. So this is the situation on Tuesday. You can see here it's a windy day. Expect gales as we head through to Wednesday, and there could be some significant rain for a time. Elsewhere, slightly further south, you can see for Tuesday and Wednesday, it really is a case of sort of sunshine coming and going, and perhaps more in the way of cloud across that western side of Wales there. And then Thursday into Friday, all change really. Better weather for the north and central areas as cloud and rain gradually clears its way southwards into summer. Find out what's in store for the next 5 days on our website, gm.tv.
Good morning, it's 6:30. It's Monday, January the 29th. It's almost February.
It is indeed, and it's 6:31 in fact, yes, time marches on. You're watching the News Hour here on GMTV. Still to come on the programme this morning, Mission Impossible, while John Reid says he's capable of turning the problems at the Home Office around. But they'll get worse before they get better.
Forgive them. Shilpa Shetty's plea over the housemates who bullied her in the Big Brother house.
And the tents are out again ahead of tomorrow's strike at British Airways. Staff and more misery for thousands of travellers. Our top story this morning is just that. Under Fire Home Secretary John Reid has admitted that more Home Office blunders will come to light, but he's not going to resign. Gloria Piro is outside the Home Office. Very good morning to you. She seems to be there every single day. Gloria, what's going on this morning?
Well, he's written an article today, and his strategy seems to be to prepare us for the worst, really. He says that the problems of this department, they're so deep-seated, so severe, that he expects them to keep coming for a little while yet. As you know, last week we had the fiascos involving overcrowded prisons. We learned that 300 convicted sex offenders weren't being monitored. Instead, they had simply gone missing. Now, last night when I spoke to John Reid's aides and spoke to him about those events, they told me that the nature of his character, these events made him just all the more determined to put this place right. But John, this place, it's like a many-headed beast. One head comes up, you try and slay that one, and another one just is waiting to attack you. It reminds me of Harold Macmillan's famous quote on becoming Prime Minister. When he was asked what he feared most about the job, events, dear boy, events was his reply. And politicians, they just hate being at the mercy of events. But what we're learning is that this is one heck of an eventful place.
You can say that again, Gloria. John Reid will be with us just after 7 o'clock.
Time, though, is now 28 minutes to 7. Let's get this morning's other news stories now from Marut.
Thanks, Penny. Good morning. Celebrity Big Brother winner Shilpa Shetty has appealed to the public to forgive the housemates accused of racially bullying her. Sarah Gatenby reports.
Shilpa!
Shilpa might not have expected it, but the actress became the nation's favourite after the biggest controversy to hit Big Brother. After leaving the house, the Bollywood star said Jade Goody's infamous comments were not racist.
Jade is not a bad person, and she really didn't contrive to behave like that. She's just young, and people are fallible. Jade didn't intentionally mean to be racist.
The press conference was then interrupted by Danielle Lloyd apologising for her comments.
They were never, ever, ever meant in a racist way whatsoever, and I'm not a racist.
Shilpa's dignified behaviour won her 63% of the public vote and an army of fans.
What Shilpa showed was that she's mature and she doesn't think to their level.
Justice has been done. She's a true Indian princess.
A princess, and now queen of reality TV.
Sarah Gatenby reporting. Young Muslims are more likely to support radical Islam than their parents, according to a new poll. The survey, commissioned by a right-wing think tank, found that young Muslims were increasingly likely to prefer strict Islamic rules to British law and to want to send their children to an Islamic school. Dramatic pictures showing the moment TV presenter Richard Hammond almost died have been shown for the first time. The vampire jet car he was driving is seen travelling at more than 230 miles an hour. The slow-motion footage shows how the car flips when a tyre bursts. Richard, who has made an astonishing recovery, said he can't even remember the crash. Camilla, Duchess of Cornwall, has been dazzling American high society by wearing a $1 million necklace. Cordelia Kretschmar is in New York for us this morning. Cordelia, she's causing quite a stir there.
Good morning. Yeah, they're already calling it that necklace. You're right, it dazzled American high society when she wore it out for the first time on Saturday night. Let's have a quick look at it. There it is, 36 rubies interlaced with diamonds. They say it's worth millions of pounds. Clarence House say it was a gift to the Duchess. They won't say who from, but they have said the Duchess likes it very much. And who wouldn't? Well, yesterday the Prince of Wales got the spotlight back on him. He was actually shooting hoops with a basketball team in Harlem. He missed the first one, sadly, but thank goodness, I'm told, the second attempt was a solid two-pointer. I spoke to the basketball team just after that. They told me they thought he'd been practicing.
I asked him how's his trip over here, and he was like his trip was all right. That it was great. Like, he didn't have no problems. The jet was going right. And then I asked him, did he play basketball? He was like, so when he took his first shot, it was perfect.
What did you think of that?
It's perfect.
What are the chances? Has he got a gift?
Yeah, you keep on it.
Would you choose him for your team?
Yeah. Small forward.
Well, last night the Prince of Wales wrapped up the trip by picking up an environmental award here in New York. In response to criticism that he shouldn't have flown here if he really cared about the environment, Clarence House have said he's cancelling his skiing trip to Switzerland so he can save on his carbon emissions that way.
Cordelia, thank you. Now here's what's top on the web this morning. Would you ever consider liposuction? According to a new poll, 70% of you would. Are you eating too much salt? Find out which products have too much in them. And how Borat has made Sacha Baron Cohen one of this country's most influential men. Find out more on gm.tv, online and now on your mobile. Quick time check now, it's 6:36, now it's over to John and Penny.
Borat certainly is influential. John's got one of his swimming costumes.
I have. I lent him mine. I lent him.
Now, a bit of an Aussie feel to our competition this morning, giving you the chance to win £20,000 every day this week.
Yes, John O'Coleman is down under with all the details. Good joke.
G'day folks, it's Jonathan Coleman here by the banks of the beautiful Sydney Harbour, bringing a bit of sunshine into your lives and giving you the chance to win £20,000 by the end of today's show if you can demonstrate your knowledge of things down under. See if you can answer this question. Finish the title of Australia's most famous song. Waltzing, A, Petunia, B, Matilda, C, Belinda. You can dial 090 68 100 100. That's 090 68 100 100 or text A, B or C as your answer, plus your full name and address to 81149. Or you can enter via the website, either online or on your mobile.
What you neglect to point out is that not many of us have the body for it.
Not many of you do. John tells me he's even got a halter-neck version.
Indeed.
Lines close at 9 and the winner will be revealed in Lorraine's show.
Before we get in any more trouble, here's what's happening where you are.
Good morning and welcome to the Breakfast News from ITV Granada. First, two men are due to go on trial today in Cyprus over the death of a Cheshire schoolgirl in a jet ski accident. Hannah Sutton from Alderley Edge was 16 when she crashed with her boyfriend James Dudley as they rode the machines in August 2005. They were both too young to hire them under Cypriot law. James Dudley, who's from North Wales, was fined for the accident. Today, the men who hired the jet skis out to the two teenagers will go on trial at Limassol District Court. Police have until this evening to charge or release 4 people arrested on suspicion of the murder of a baby boy in Salford. Hugo Wang died at Pendlebury Children's Hospital on Friday from a head injury. He'd been taken there from a block of flats in Salford on Thursday evening. 2 men and 2 women in their 20s and 30s are now in custody. Police say none of them are the boy's parents, but they do know his family. Liverpool model Danielle Lloyd was booed as she left the controversial celebrity Big Brother house last night, winning just 3% of the votes. Bookies had her as least favourite to win after her involvement in apparent on-screen bullying of the eventual winner, Bollywood star Shilpa Shetty. The 23-year-old model has said that she was fearful of what might happen to her outside the Big Brother house, and after the show last night, Danielle apologised for her behaviour. An influential political think tank says Blackpool should win the bid to have Britain's first super casino. The resort's main rival is the Millennium Dome in London, but the Institute of Public Policy Research believes Blackpool will get more benefit from the regeneration the project would bring. Researchers say it would help stem the fall in the number of tourists visiting the Lancashire town, but there is a warning that it could bring problems, draining money from other local business and creating gambling addictions. Now, a quick reminder to watch Granada Reports live from 6 o'clock tonight. That's because we're giving you a chance to walk out as mascot for the England team when they take on Spain at Old Trafford on February the 7th. We'll be giving you all the details of how to enter on tonight's programme, as well, of course, as a roundup of all the day's news and sport. That's it for now. I'll be back at 7:05. Time now for a look at the region's weather.
Relief for dry, chapped hands when they need it most. Nivea Hand SOS Intensive Balm.
Well, much of the region will have a dry start this morning with cloudy skies and just the odd spell of sunshine. Little will change through the afternoon, so all parts should remain dry with a few more sunny spells to look forward to. Highs today of a relatively warm 9 Celsius, that's 48 Fahrenheit.
It's 6:41. Let's have a quick look at the newspapers, and before we go on to some of the rather depressing front pages, I just thought I'd bring you this. This is a photograph of a tiger in Thailand who's snuggling up to a piglet. No, he's not about to, he's not softening it up, ready for the kill. He actually thinks it's his own, or she thinks it's her own babies, which is why it's wearing a, that is allegedly a striped coat to make it look like a tiger. Right, The Independent, the front pages. Global warming, the vicious circle, saying 2,000 climate change experts are delivering the most terrifying report ever. The Daily Mail has a right-wing think tank poll saying that a generation of outsiders, this is the multiculturalism, driving young Muslims to shun British values, saying that 4 out of 10 Muslims, young Muslims, want Sharia law in Britain. The Times, pub law U-turn will curb opening hours, government thinking of going back on the original 24-hour opening. And the Daily Mirror, 2,500 more prison places are possibly going to be found by the end of the year to ease overcrowding.
18 minutes to 7 is the time. Marathon talks to avert a crippling strike by thousands of British Airways cabin crew will resume this morning. If they fail, a 48-hour walkout starts tomorrow in the dispute over sickness, absence, pay and staffing. The airline has already cancelled all flights out of Heathrow and domestic and European flights out of Gatwick for the duration of the action. Richard Gaisford is at Heathrow for us this morning. The tents are up again. Might as well leave them up full time at the moment, might they, Richard?
I know it's not been a good time for British Airways, has it, just recently? John, the sign behind me there promising 11 flights a day to New York. Well, as of tomorrow on Wednesday, there will be no flights to New York and no British Airways flights anywhere. Although we have to clarify, British Airways does have franchise partners, specifically at this airport, BMed, British Mediterranean, and Gatwick, GB Airways. Now, they fly in planes that look very much like British Airways aircraft. In fact, the crew even wear the uniform, but they will be operating as normal tomorrow and Wednesday, we're told. So it is worth checking ahead to make sure you know exactly who it is that you're travelling with. But for the vast majority of passengers, more than 100,000, they will be affected by this. More than 1,000 flights over those 2 days have been cancelled. Passengers have been told not to turn up at the airport, to stay at home, to check with their airline, to make other arrangements. But BAA have put these giant tents into operation yet again, the idea being that some people may well still come to the airport, and by getting them in the tents, they get them away from the main terminal. They got some screens here which give them the information as to what's going on. Those talks, as you say, have been going on all weekend. Secret talks, specifically between Tony Woodley of the TNG and Willie Walsh of British Airways. We're told there may be some progress there, but nothing solid enough to get these strikes called off, John. And really, at the moment, it looks like it's going to be quite a nasty day, or 2 days, for British Airways and its passengers.
Richard, timing, thanks very much indeed. Do tell us if your travel plans have been thrown into chaos by this threatened British Airways strike. How do you intend to cope with the disruption? Text us as usual, place 81189, or you can email us at gm.tv. One thing that puzzles me about this dispute over the weekend, there were reports that British Airways were encouraging staff to turn up for work anyway. What's the point if there are no flights? Do they intend to try and get some off the ground? Let's see if we can find out now as we talk to Sue Ockwell from the Association of Independent Tour Operators. Sue, good morning. Thanks for being with us. First and foremost, what's your advice to travellers who still haven't actually sorted out their travel arrangements with British Airways for tomorrow and the day after? What can they actually do? What are their rights?
Well, I think it depends how they've booked their ticket and what sort of ticket they've booked. If they've booked online or they've booked independently via the airline, then it's down to them to try and sort it out. And obviously with 100,000 plus people, that's not going to be easy. If they've booked with a tour operator or with a travel agent, then that tour operator or travel agent will do their utmost to help them. And that, quite honestly, is the best state to be in. You want someone to be fighting your corner when you're up against so much.
Yeah, I think I'm right in saying that you can switch flights without any cost to yourself. That's what BA are saying. But what happens if these talks succeed and some flights do get off the ground and, say, for example, I've already cancelled my flight with BA and gone with someone else? Where do I stand then?
Well, British Airways has said for the next couple of days that it'll refund flights, so that's okay. The problem is with next week's flights and the flights the week after. If people are buying tickets now to protect their options, then they could end up with 2 tickets that both work and they won't get a refund.
Understand. And my point I was making as we were just before we came to you, British Airways are encouraging workers to turn up tomorrow. For what, I might ask? I mean, if there are no flights, what's the point of the workers being there? Do they intend to try and get some off the ground anyway?
I have no idea. You'd have to ask British Airways about that, I'm afraid.
Yeah. What about the impact on your industry of all this? Because, I mean, you know, like me and thousands of other people, we're getting a bit fed up of going to Heathrow and having this sort of disruption. Thousands of people milling around in tents, not knowing where we're going. It's going to have some impact on the industry generally, isn't it?
It is. It's not good for the industry generally, and it's very bad for British Airways. We would hope, obviously, that the management and the staff of British Airways would be trying to protect the image of our national flag carrier. British people tend to want to travel with British Airways as their national carrier. It's such a shame to see this happening.
You blame British Airways then, from what you've heard so far?
I don't think you can blame anyone in particular. I think that to take sick days when you're not sick is a very unusual scenario, not one that works in a normal business plan. I think that on the pay front, you know what the pay is when you take a job, so perhaps that should be borne in mind. And everyone is suffering with pension problems. You would hope that both sides would be working together in the good of the consumer and in the good of the company long term.
Okay, so indeed we will. Let's keep our fingers crossed and hope there's some resolution. Sue, thanks very much, Dee, for getting up to talk to us.
Time is 30 minutes to 7. You're watching the News Hour on GMTV. This morning's headlines. The Home Secretary, John Reid, admits more Home Office blunders will emerge, but he says he won't resign.
Celebrity Big Brother winner Shilpa Shetty has appealed to the British public to forgive Jade Goody and the other housemates who were accused of racist bullying.
And Camilla and her $1 million necklace cause a stir in New York. Now, it's a problem we've covered time and again on the News Hour, and it appears to be getting worse. According to the Federation Against Copyright Theft, the sale of pirate DVDs has become more profitable than drug dealing, netting criminals more than £270 million a year. Now, in a moment, I'll be talking to Eddie Leverton from the Federation, but first, Nick Dixon followed a raid over the weekend with Nottinghamshire Police, and he joins us now. Nick.
Morning, Penny. Yeah, this is just a small sample of some of the thousands of DVDs seized by the authorities at car boot sales, believe it or not, up and down the country. We all like to go along to those sales and try and pick up a few bargains, but increasingly they're attracting organised criminal networks selling millions of pounds worth of counterfeit DVDs. The police, of course, and FACT and the trading standards are very keen to try and put these rogue traders out of business, and as you said, I followed the police on one of their raids.
The car boot sale is in full swing. The Sunday morning bargain hunters are out, but so are the bootleggers. Tucked away in a field behind the main market, 5 stalls are doing a roaring trade in illegal DVDs. As the police move in across the field, the sellers dump their goods and run, but they've quickly been cornered.
You don't sell them?
I don't sell them. You can go and ask somebody on the car boot.
But I saw you this morning behind the counter.
No, I don't think you did.
Well, there was 5 sellers at this raid this morning. Each had around 3,000 DVDs. Look at them here. These are films that are just at the cinema. Will Smith, Pursuit of Happiness, Dreamgirls, Rocky. And they estimate that today's takings would have been around £20,000. Well, as always, the quality of these films is pretty appalling. I managed to find a couple of cinema releases here. Ben Stiller's Night at the Museum and The Last King of Scotland, both recently released, and as you'd imagine, the sound and vision on these films is pretty appalling and really not worth bothering with. But there is always people who will spend a fiver on these films, regardless of the quality and regardless, Penny, of the implications.
Nick, thank you very much. Well, Eddie Leverton from the Federation Against Copyright Theft joins me now. Good morning. Now, Nick says that those ones were particularly appalling, but in fact, they're not all appalling, otherwise people wouldn't carry on buying them, would they?
No, I mean, the quality of some can be good. The quality of the camcorded copies, which is about 90% of new release movies, is generally quite poor, variable. The quality of the movies that have been copied from a DVD itself, so when the movie's out on DVD, can be quite good quality. But the main issue is this is a criminal enterprise. This is making criminals hundreds of millions of pounds a year and contributing to the criminal economy in your local community. You know, why would you want to give money to criminals in your local community?
I suppose because people think, well, £2, is that really going to contribute a lot to any criminal?
Well, a lot of £2 adds up, and people at car boot sales like that are making thousands of pounds a day.
And they go around and these car boot sales every weekend, aren't they, I suppose? So,
yeah, in pretty much every town and city across the country, yeah.
How can you tell if you've bought a pirate DVD?
Well, the packaging, as Nick was showing on the piece there, will be inferior. The disc probably won't have a proper printed label on it. It's pretty obvious to most people. I think people are kidding themselves if they think they're buying a genuine copy.
And what about reducing? I mean, the other thing that people say, well, when I'm out and about, is people say, well, why if the companies, the film companies, actually reduced the price of these films on DVDs down to a reasonable amount, wouldn't want to go to these buy pirate DVDs?
I mean, I can't comment for the individual film companies, but there was a huge investment in new product, both in the UK and worldwide. If you're buying a pirate DVD, you're not only contributing to the criminal economy, but you're depreciating the investment in new products, in new films. You know, films like The Queen, for example, which is winning lots of awards. Those won't get made again. Those jobs in the UK economy won't happen. The taxpayer won't get any money. It won't go to fund new hospitals, new roads and everything else.
Eddie, thank you very much.
OK, 6:52 is the time. GMTV Today is up next, of course, with Fiona and Andrew.
Jermaine Jackson, Clea Rockus are live on the sofa after 8 o'clock.
But first, our own little star, Claire, with the weather.